Well, since your kids are in it, why don't we put it on you? What do you think? What is your experience like so far? What do you think synthesis is? How would you describe it?
Okay. Well, I guess what attracted me to it in the beginning was I was looking for ways to supplement. Like I said, we made the kind of crazy decision to do homeschool, and pulled our kids out of the district and bought curriculum, and we were math teachers and science teachers and all that kind of stuff. And so they weren't sitting on Zoom calls all day long.
Right.
But we wanted to look for some ways to kind of provide enrichment. And I think on Twitter, it might've been you, Chrisman, actually, I don't know where it came from originally, but the video, and my understanding was that it came out of something that SpaceX families were able to take advantage of, but basically teaching kids, life skills through kind of a collaborative / competitive type of game type of environment. And we put the kids through it, and they fell in love. So it's the one thing that they were looking forward to each week. They did not enjoy Dad as the science teacher nearly as much. So I don't know if that's an accurate representation of it, but that's been our experience.
I get the same thing with our kids. Definitely, they really look forward to synthesis, and I don't do much direct teaching of them, but certainly they prefer what little I do. They prefer synthesis to that. That's pretty good description. I mean, I think to go with the background of synthesis is our co-founder Josh was a teacher at kind of like fancy private school in LA. Previously that he'd been a teacher in Teach for America schools in Las Vegas, like low income schools. And he went to this fancy private school because he was like, I want to see, he's like, the system seems so broken and just wrong in its goals and its methods. I want to see what like really great looks like. And so he went to this private school and just kind of found it was, basically more of the same, but faster. And, Elon was one of the parents of the school. And so he met Elon through that. He had Elon's kids in his class, and Elon kind of shared his frustrations. Elon's big idea was that school should be, focused on solving problems. Like as a species, humanity, we make progress by solving problems together. And so he thought that should be the approach that school should take, whereas school is more focused on tools. So the way Elon describes it is like school would teach you a course on wrenches and a course on screwdrivers, and they teach the tool, and what you should do is teach the problem. So give kids an engine to take apart, and then they'll have to learn how to use a screwdriver and how to use a wrench. And so that was really the genesis of the school that became Ad Astra. And then synthesis specifically was just trying to fulfill Elon's, first principles approach of teach the kids how to solve problems. Josh went through a bunch of iterations and eventually realized, if you give kids problems in the forms of these competitive and collaborative games and simulations, one, that's really engaging. And then two, it's a very rigorous kind of thinking, because I don't know how much you've observed your kids in it, but if they lose the games, it's because their thinking was inferior, or their thinking or their communication, right? And there's it's not like the teacher just decided to give you a B, it's not arbitrary like that. It's like the other kids had superior thinking and communication to you. And so what are you going to do about that? And that really, the analogy that popped in my head when I first saw synthesis was like Ender's Game. It's like Ender's Game for innovators, right? Ender's Game, the sci-fi novel where kids compete in battle school to become the best, solve this existential threat of fighting off an alien invasion. And they use this competitive and collaborative dynamic to make all the kids, better. And that's kind of what I thought when I first saw synthesis at Ad Astra. It was like this dynamic of making it like a game. It just made it so it was fun. Kids kind of lose themselves in the process of it. And it was very, very rigorous, right? It's because, like I said, if your thinking is not strong, you will just lose the game. And that is a reality that the kids can't argue with. And so we find the way they respond to that is they want to get better, right? Same way kids are with any kind of video game. And it just so happens in this game, they're very complex and abstract. So your thinking and communication need to be really on point. And, I thought when I saw that, I have to get this for my kids. This is just, anyone who learns this way is just going to be a cut above people who don't learn this way. And so that was the genesis. I like really wanted my kids to get it, and just worked for a couple of years trying to convince Josh to that we could do this online, and we could open it up and make it accessible to more people, not just a handful of SpaceX engineers.